And just like that, we have reached the final episode of season 1. Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Pagel. Welcome to Purpose Project. This season has been an exploration on the topic of life's purpose. It has been an exploration through conversations with individuals who have clarity in their life's purpose and they're actively pursuing it. In this final episode, I am joined by my dear friend and partner in this purpose project, Amy Helene. Together in this episode, we reflect on the themes that have emerged throughout this season. We celebrate where we've been and we look forward to what's next. Let's dive in. Thank you for joining us on Purpose Project. If you have been following along in season 1, you would have noticed that I have been interviewing people who have a clear understanding of their life's purpose and are actively pursuing that. Today, on this episode, we're going to do something totally different, though. I have invited my friend Amy Helene on the show, and Amy and I are going to sit here and have a conversation about this year, which has been a journey through the topic of life's purpose. If you haven't watched episode 4, I would encourage you to go check that out, because in episode 4, Amy was also on Purpose Project talking about the origin of Purpose Project. And now we're back and we're going to talk about the progress that we've made since the start. So thank you, Amy, for being here.
Thank you for inviting me back.
So it's been a crazy year.
A lot has definitely happened over the course of this year, from that dinner where it all started to everything that's unfolded over the course.
Yeah. Is there, when you think back over the year, is there any one thing that stands out over the others, or?
You know, I think that the common underlying element of everything that's transpired is trusting when things are meant to end so that new doors can open and you can start taking steps forward. So what I mean more specifically by that, when I was on episode 4, I was with the startup company, and I thought that maybe that was going to be where I was landing. And it became clear that door needed to close. And I was really hoping that maybe that's where I was going to land, at least for a period of time.
Yeah.
But recognizing that maybe that door was meant to shut and something else could come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and as you were talking about trusting, I also had a door close this year. Mm-hmm. So our dinner was in February. The first recording of Purpose Project was in May. It wasn't released until August, but I was recording earlier. Mm-hmm. And at the end of June, I found out that my position had been eliminated. Mm-hmm. And in the conversation, I remember thinking, of course, this is what is happening, mm-hmm. because I'm being directed mm-hmm. towards something new. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, if this hadn't been happening, I don't think I would have had that mindset. Mm-hmm. But in the moment, I'm losing my job. My job is being eliminated. I remember thinking, my first thought was, of course it is, because mm-hmm. another door's opening.
That's right. And I think it's hard sometimes, you can take a moment like that, and prior to this year, maybe the reaction would have been a more negative response. Why is this ending? Why is it happening to me? But I think what we are finding through this course of exploration is that when one door closes, it's because this new path is opening up. Mm-hmm. And I think for both of us, some of the things we've been exploring, like meditation, has helped us to trust in that process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will tell you, it has not been easy to always trust. My first thought was a trusting thought. But when you lose your job and you get rejection after rejection after rejection from job searching,
Right.
it can be hard to trust. But you did mention meditation. I had started meditating before I lost my job. I think it was 2 weeks before you and I met for dinner, and you were talking about meditation, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a go. But I do think that helped me through some of those hard times as well.
Yeah, there was a period in my life where a disappointment, like a job loss or something, would happen. And it would just really pull me down. And I would think, what could I have done differently? What did I do wrong? A job search, I feel like I'm qualified for this. Why is it not coming through for me? But I will tell you, and for me, it's really via meditation. I have learned that to feel some almost, I don't know if excitement's the right word, but acceptance, and it means what's meant for me will come my way.
Right.
But that has not happened overnight, Leslie. I mean, it's been a journey to come to that for me.
Well, and you used that word acceptance just now, and it's become a little bit of a trigger word for me because you also used it in the February dinner that started this whole thing called Purpose Project. And at the time, I was reading a book called Radical Acceptance, and you used the word acceptance. You use it now. And it really is this idea of just accepting what is. There is no good or bad. It just is. And it might feel hurtful. I did. I had months of really deep sadness that I was going through. And so it felt sad, but it was neither good nor bad.
Right.
It was just what was. I had to go through it.
And I think it's meditation that's really brought me to that, being able to accept. When you're meditating, you might have those thoughts float up in your mind, and you observe them and you let them pass.
Yeah. I think for me, meditation definitely through the second half of this year has helped me. But I've started journaling, so I've journaled every day this year except for one day I forgot. And that's really helped me express feelings, process them, reflect on them, instead of just push them down, which I imagine some of that happens in my meditation as well.
I think journaling is important because it gives you more time to really process through the thoughts. There's something about the action. Writing is a meditation in a way, right? Where you're going through that motion of putting your thoughts into words, and because you're scripting it out. You're not typing it into something, but you're hand writing those thoughts. So that makes sense to me that you're processing in a different way with journaling.
Yeah.
I'm a bad journaler. Like, I'll start it and stop it. But every time I do it, there is a way of processing information that doesn't process the same with just thinking.
And I was a bad journaler until this year. I don't know why, but I did make a commitment to journal every day, and I've kept it. So yeah.
You've really developed a ritual, really, with because it's not journaling. You're doing it part of like this whole ritual.
It is, definitely. I've got a morning ritual. That is a new thing for me this year that I love. It's my favorite part of the day, really, is getting up and going into my morning routine, which is all about grounding, becoming grounded. Okay, so your year in review
Yes.
is about accepting, trusting that when a door closes, another opens.
Yes. And to trust my intuition on things too. So, the startup ended and I didn't have I ended that. I self-ended it, which is also very unusual for me. Typically, I wouldn't walk away for something. But it was clear it was time to walk away, and I didn't have anything lined up. But then I had a networking meeting, but I felt that conversation immediately, and I thought, this is where I'm landing next. Like, I just felt it deeply.
Yeah.
And it was a very long, drawn-out process. I think that breakfast was in early May, and it did not come to fruition until I think I got the offer maybe like late July.
Uh-huh.
And so there were some bumps along the way with it, but I just had this deep sense that this was meant to be. And so I think part of this journey has also been really trusting that intuition and instinct, and I believe that's present in all of us. It's just whether or not we choose to tap into it and to trust it and go with it.
Yeah, yeah. So when I think about, for me this year, this sense of freedom is what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it is because I have taken responsibility for my happiness. And I've been very intentional with it.
Mm-hmm.
This whole purpose project started because our dinner, and I was thinking, I've got this feeling, intuition, I've got this feeling in my gut that I'm supposed to be doing something that has a meaningful impact on this world. And I don't know what that is. So I'm going to go explore it. And I did it because you also said, get out of your head and into action.
I think that's the other big piece. And I love that you said responsibility, because I think sometimes we have these moments and we just sit in that moment and we don't take a step forward. And I very much believe part of this is you have to take a step forward. You have to get out of your head with it and take, even if it's just one little step.
Right.
You take one little step and then you take one more step.
Yeah.
And that's when doors open.
Geneva Shaw was on the show, episode 5, and she encouraged us to do it even when we're scared.
I think that's the big thing. Absolutely.
Yes, just do it. One step, and it doesn't have to. She also talked about one thing every single day. And it's just one little step. Do it even if you're scared.
I believe that. I also think it just builds your confidence too.
Absolutely. Well, and through all of that, going back to like the word that came up for me, which is freedom, I have this sense of freedom over my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a new feeling for me, so I'm having a hard time even kind of articulating it. But I do think it was because of the responsibility. I went and did it. Did it scared. Still am scared. But I feel alive. That's another word. Like just really alive, like I'm living.
Yes. And I think part of that, I know exactly what you mean. I feel like at age 50, I feel like I'm actually really living now in a way that I hadn't previously.
Yeah. So what is that for you? How has it changed for you?
What do you mean, how has it changed
so
for me?
like for me, I feel like it's because of Purpose Project and what I've been doing with this.
So I think some of it's just coming out of reacting and living from fear and trusting that when one door closes, something else is going to open up. But I have responsibility in that. And my responsibility in that is taking step forwards. and really pursuing those things that I feel internal joy from. I think for me, I can tell when things don't sit with my spirit, and I used to kind of force myself through those moments. And I don't do that like I used to.
Right. Yeah. How did you flip that switch?
I know I keep bringing up meditation, but meditation has really been what has transformed my life in just so many ways. I don't feel as reactive to stressful moments like I used to. I think it's made me trust myself more. It's made me trust my intuition. I don't know if it's made me more intuitive or if it's just made me trust that intuition in a way that I didn't in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So what have you learned from Purpose Project?
Oh, I've learned a ton. I'll start by saying that. What I'm walking away from season 1 is having a really clear understanding of what life's purpose is and what it is not.
Okay, so tell me more.
Coming into this, it was all about what am I supposed to do and exploring life's purpose. And I was thinking that it's this thing that I'm supposed to go do, that's what life's purpose is. Mm-hmm. It's a goal. It's something to go accomplish. Mm-hmm. And what I'm coming to realize is that life's purpose is about being. It's an alignment that we have between who we are, our being, and what we do, our actions in the world. Mm-hmm. And so it's not necessarily about accomplishing things. People have been on the show that haven't had goals of specific things. Mm-hmm. Now, there have been people on the show that have had a goal, and that's okay too. And that is a purpose. But it really is about this alignment between understanding ourselves and making sure that our actions line up to that. Mm-hmm. And when we are in alignment, we are living out a purposeful life, a life purpose. And I've also become really clear that our purpose evolves over time.
Absolutely, yes.
And so that alignment is constantly, it's a constant state of alignment.
We're not these stagnant individuals.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
We're in constant growth and evolution. Mm-hmm. So to think that it's just this one thing in our life, when grandiose event just doesn't fit with how life works.
Exactly. Yeah, and we evolve, and people have been on the show sharing their purposes, and it seems like they have fallen into a couple categories. And I think that some of that might align with where they are in their lives. Mm-hmm. So one category is this category of responsibility. Brandy talked about her purpose right now is to be a mother to her family. Well, that's a responsibility.
Right.
Geneva talked about caring for her mother when her mother was dying. Mm-hmm. That's a responsibility purpose. Mm-hmm. The other is an achievement. It's a goal-oriented. Rothma talked about creating schools for girls. And then the third category of purpose is about the state of being. Mm-hmm. So an example of that, Crystal Morse was on the show, episode 2, I think. And she talked about how her purpose is to be a light in people's day. Mm-hmm. That's just like a state of being,
Right.
And so you can see how, as you grow in your life, how it might flow into different types of stated purposes in the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the other thing I would say to that is, I think sometimes when we ask people, what is your purpose in life? It seems like it needs to be this big, grandiose thing. It could be that I held the door open for someone.
Exactly.
And it made their day because I didn't slam the door in their face or what, you know what I mean?
Right.
It can be just these little moments that you have in life.
I think that is a paradigm shift that we have to create to make the topic of purpose feel more accessible to people, because there was one episode where Ethan Butte came on the show and he doesn't have a life's purpose.
Yes.
And one of the things that he was talking about is it feels like it's so big and grand. And he said there's fun in that, in that idea of purpose, but it feels so big and grand, and to have just one life's purpose. And so I do think coming out of season 1, there's some paradigm shifts, and that's one, is it doesn't have to be this big thing. It really is about this alignment between who you are and how you're showing up in the world.
Yes. I love that you said that, living this life in alignment. It seems like it should be so easy to do, right? Just be who you are and take actions in life but there's so many different societal pressures that can make you pivot from that alignment.
Yes.
So it really requires a lot of internal strength to live an aligned life.
I agree with that. And I think the other thing I would add is looking at yourself in the mirror and accepting everything you see.
Yes.
And being honest.
Yes.
Fully honest with yourself. You don't have to tell anyone, but being really open and honest about what you're scared of, what shame you might have, and accepting. And that is so hard to do.
Yes. It almost makes me tear up, Leslie, because you want that for everyone, to feel like you can live the life of who you fundamentally are. Everyone should have that. Everyone should feel that freedom to be able to do that.
Right. But it is hard.
It is.
Why is it so hard?
Because we're afraid of the judgment, right? That we might experience by living that life of who we really are.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think?
I think that's true. I do think that judgment is a big piece of it. I also think, and a lot of what I've been learning this year comes from Purpose Project, but it comes from other sources outside of the podcast. And one of those is Jim Fortin. And I know you've been listening to some of his podcasts. And so I've been consuming his podcasts, and he talks a lot about judgment, but he also talks a lot about the stories that we tell ourselves. And these stories that we tell ourselves come from our childhood. And we don't even know that we're telling them to ourselves, but they are stories that have been rooted in our childhood as our brains were developing and we were learning how to navigate this world.
Right.
We started imprinting upon us beliefs, conditioning, social norms, all those things.
Right.
And so I think that's part of it too.
Absolutely. I mean, that starting point is the world that we know. So being able to shift out of that mindset can be a pretty big shift.
Going back to meditation and journaling, I do think that helps to, just have a journal prompt. What stories am I telling myself about? Fill in the blank. For me, one was money. You and I have talked about my relationship with money, and I've had to work on what is my story about money. Because there is a story that I tell myself about money, but that's an example, I guess.
Right. So I think, part of what you're saying is in order to address those things, we have to have an awareness that they even exist.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. The other thing I would add about the podcast is I am realizing the extent at which, when we live a life of purpose, the impact is a generational impact.
Yes, absolutely.
And that has just kind of blown my mind to
Mm-hmm.
think about
Mm-hmm.
the work that we are doing, the things that we can do today can be impactful 30 years from now, 50 years from now.
It makes it think about where the conversation was at just a moment ago. Like how our childhood, our brains are developing, that starts to shape the world as we know it. By starting this mindset shift with how we look at things and bringing things to alignment, it makes sense, right?
Right.
That the generational impact would follow.
Yeah. Yeah. Rothma was on the show, and she had talked about how her father was pulled out of poverty basically by a French man
Mm-hmm.
who educated him.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, her father has now educated, I think, 15
Mm-hmm.
people, and they've all gone off. And now she's trying to bring education
Right.
to a even larger.
Right. One interaction, this French man sees her father, I think he was like building a toy or something.
Mm-hmm.
That one moment changed like the course of her father's life, Rothma and her sister's lives, and other women in the village.
Right.
That one moment.
Exactly.
So that one step forward that Frenchman took started the series of events.
And I think about that one dinner that we had.
Right.
Has put in motion so much.
Yes.
I've had so many people thank me for just asking the question. People saying, we don't talk about this. And I appreciate you asking me because I could reflect on what my life's purpose is.
Mm-hmm. I think that's such a significant thing, that importance of just one step, and how that one step forward can change a whole course of events.
Yeah. One of the things you and I talk about a lot is our energy.
Yes.
That is another thing that feels very much of a growth area for me this year.
Yeah, I am definitely, it's been a big thing for me too. Really, the universe doesn't recognize positive, negative energy, right? It just reacts to energy. So making sure that I'm trying to attract positive into my life by vibrating in that way.
Right. Yeah. And I believe it all starts with our thoughts. Our thoughts are influencing our emotions, and when we're feeling in certain ways, that puts out different vibrations of energy, and that attracts that into our lives.
I mean, think about like if you're in a meeting and someone walks in that's had a really bad day, you can feel that presence shift the energy in the room.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Versus someone that walks in that is at peace, that is, it brings a different dynamic as well.
Right, absolutely. So even those moments where that have felt tough, I've really worked this year on reframing how I think about those moments, how I feel in those moments, to try to bring more of that positive energy no matter what's happening.
Yeah, I have too, and you've helped me with that a lot. Just being really intentional with looking at what are you thinking? How is it making you feel? Because that is the energy that you're going to put out. And the other thing that you've helped me with is being really careful with the words that we say, because they have energy too.
Absolutely. I think the words that you put out there draw a lot of energy to them.
Mm-hmm. You shared a story. Someone had said something like, I want to be as happy as I can till I'm 80.
Yes.
Because that's a good example of the words that
yes.
So what is that?
So I was finishing teaching a yoga class, and one of the students, we were talking about getting together for coffee at some point, and I made a comment. It was something like, she asked me like about skincare or something, and so it started this like age conversation, and she said, I want to feel good until I'm 80. And I said to her, I said, I want to feel good until the day I leave this earth. Because, I mean, there shouldn't be a number cap on it, right?
Right.
Every moment of your life should be well lived.
Exactly. So that's a perfect example of the words, but it also is the thought. So she's a story she tells herself is something around 80.
Right.
And reframing that to, I want to be living my life, each and every moment of my life to the fullest.
Absolutely. You're putting an end date on things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no end dates.
No end dates.
What do you see looking forward? We're coming into 2025.
I know. I mean, I feel like so much goodness has been started this year. Like, my mindset just continues to shift on the possibilities. More than ever, I look forward to every single day. And so the work that we're doing with Purpose Project and what we have planned for upcoming months, I'm excited to share what we've learned with other people and to magnify this.
Yes, I am too. Yeah, 2025, I usually do a word for the year, and I don't have that word at the time that we're recording this. But I am really excited about season 2. I'm excited about season 2. Season 2 is how purpose shows up in the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a hypothesis that some of these lessons learned from individuals will also apply in business. So I'm excited about season 2. I too am excited about looking at Purpose Project in a more complete manner, which is more than a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and really looking at ways that we can help bring purpose into people's lives by helping them connect to themselves, connect to the environment, and connect to each other.
Mm-hmm. And live that life in alignment.
Yes.
I think that's such a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the, and you know this, but one of the moments that I had this year was I had an opportunity to lead a workshop at Michigan State University.
Yes.
And we were both so excited about it because it was the first time Purpose Project was going to be in front of people in a live setting and all of that. And going into that was so excited, but never anticipated how I would feel when I was leaving. And I remember driving home and just thinking, oh my gosh, this has to be more. You've got to do more. People need it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because people's reaction to the workshop was good, but also what I heard from people at that conference was, I'm not happy in my job. I don't enjoy my job. It's like we spend so much time at work.
Absolutely.
And people seem so miserable, and they don't have to be.
I totally agree with that. We spend so many hours of our day at a job. And I think that's one of the things a startup gave me, Leslie, is that sense of freedom that you really could love. That job energized me. And I thought that is what work should feel like.
Right. Yes. And this thing called life's purpose can help you create happiness in your job. I am convinced of it.
I am too. That's what it should be.
I agree.
Life, even if you live until 100 or greater, that's still not too many years, right?
Right.
So every single day should be a life well lived.
Right. And we spend so much time at work.
Yes.
It can be more than a paycheck. And now I know through season 1 that for some people it is just a paycheck, and that's fine. But it could also be more than that. You don't have to be miserable to get your paycheck.
Mm-hmm. And I think some of it is that reframing too. So even if it is a paycheck, what does that paycheck enable?
Exactly. Yes. So connecting it to something more meaningful.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Anything else looking forward that has you excited?
Our friendship.
Yeah.
I feel like we met each other, 20,
probably 27 years
Oh,
ago.
wow.
20, we'll say over 25
Yes, yes. So thinking about where that friendship started in the workplace, right? And it's kind of coming full circle again. So
Yeah. I'm really excited about our friendship too, and continuing to grow with each other, from each other, and through each other, really.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other piece of this is really wanting to have a positive impact on humanity as much as we can.
Yeah. We have to save humanity.
Yes. Why not shoot that high?
Yeah. Well, multiple people in season 1 talked about people just being disconnected. Don Wettrick talked about the obsession with our phones and how it is taking away our attention. Ethan Butte talked about our lack of connection to the environment and to each other. And I feel like all of that is impacting people's happiness.
Absolutely.
And we've got to get back to this sense of connection, really.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Our friendship is going to...
That's right.
Do it. Going to save humanity.
One small step, and look what it's turned into.
Exactly. Yeah. One small step at a time. We're going to do it while we're scared.
Yes. Yes.
And other people are going to do it too.
That's right. That's right. Our bravery will hopefully, I always say in my yoga class, when people are like unstable and shaking, like go to the wall, and people get afraid to move around. And I always say, like, your bravery will inspire someone else.
That's right. Yes.
So
yeah.
Hopefully our bravery inspires other people.
I hope so too. I know it. I already know it is, because people have told me.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else?
No. How about from you?
Can't think of anything else. It's been an incredible year. I feel very grateful. It feels good to feel that way too.
Yes, I know. Feels like there's just limitless possibilities. If I think about like how I feel right now, my heart just feels like literally it feels very open.
Mm-hmm. Mine does too. And it feels good. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
The season 1 finale of Purpose Project was released on December 17th, 2024. And if you're listening to this episode around that time, I want to share something important with you. I'm going to be taking a short break from the podcast. I'm going to take some time to really reflect and capture all of the things that I have learned through season 1 and share that with you in a new way through written posts on LinkedIn. If you haven't already, I encourage you to follow Purpose Project on LinkedIn. I'll put a link in the show notes so that we can stay connected during this time. I'm also excited to announce that I've already started working on season 2. The next season, we are going to explore how purpose shows up in the workforce. It's a topic that I am personally very deeply passionate about, because I believe that everyone deserves to find meaning and fulfillment in their employment. And I'm really looking forward to exploring how that can happen, from both what companies can do to create a connection to employee purpose and what employees can do to connect their purpose in their job. Creating and sharing Purpose Project with you has been such an incredible honor. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and I can't wait to see where we go next. Until then, take care and keep living with purpose. Purpose Project is brought to you for education and for entertainment purposes. This podcast is not intended to replace the advice that you would receive from a licensed therapist or doctor or any other qualified professional.